You're listening to the X-Zone Radio Show live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network. Visit us online at
www.xzone-radio.com.
The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network and our fine family of broadcast affiliates across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, 20 Asian countries, and now in Europe. If you'd like to give us a call, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free at 1-877-528-8255. My email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com. On MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com, and our websites. For those of you who are using the X-Zone Apple iPod, it's www.xzoneradiotv.com, and our regular site is www.xzoneradio.com. But you can also watch, listen, and chat with the X-Zone Nation at www.xzonetv.com. On tonight's show, Amy Crowell will be joining me in a few minutes. We're going to be talking about her new book called Loved Back to Life. Hour number 2, Miss Bonnie comes on, and she's going to tell us how we can get ready for Friday, which is 8808. Tara Green in hour number 3 doing tarot card readings for one and all who give us a call at 1-877-528-8255. And then in hour number 4, Cal Korff live from the beautiful city of Prague in the Czech Republic. Let me see, on this day, well, what do we have on this day? Okay, first of all, it was on this date in 1181, a supernova was observed by Chinese and Japanese astronomers. Now, amazingly, at the same time, they both yelled, "Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane." No, it's a supernova. Thus the name. In 1890, the electric chair was used for the first time. The prisoner actually thought he was just sitting down for a massage. Boy, was he in for a shock. That same day in 1890, Cy Young won his first professional baseball game and went on to win 510 more. In 1985, baseball players walked off the field. And while baseball fans called it a strike, football fans thought it was a ball. Get it? Okay, I'll let that one go by. Let me see. Today is Soleil Moon Frye, better known as Punky Brewster's birthday. She turns 32. Jerry Halliwell, otherwise known as Ginger Spice, turns 36 today. And Peter Bonrez Jerry the dentist on the old Newhart show turns 70. And by the way, this month is August. So there you go. Just a little bit of information for you here at the X Zone. Once again, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii at 1-877-528-8255. We've got a grand show lined up for you tonight. As I said, Amy Crowell will be with us. We're going to be talking to her when we come back from this commercial break about her book entitled Loved Back to Life. Miss Bonnie in hour number 2, Tara Green in hour number 3, and Cal Korff live from the Czech Republic. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday right here on the Talkstar Radio Network. Now, I'm going to be off Friday. We're going to be playing the best of. Batman has made his selection, and we're going to slip it into the schedule because, Batman's a great guy. He kind of does a lot of things for us here at the X Zone, and if I can make him happy by playing somebody who does tonal healing, it's the very least I can do for the guy who does so much for us. By the way, at XZoneRadioTV.com, some of the top... And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. My guest this hour is Amy A.J. Crowell. She is the author of Loved Back to Life and is an alcoholism, drug addiction, and recovery expert. She has been in long-term recovery since 1988 and is committed to educating everyone about compulsive behaviors and addictions. Her personal experience reveals how anyone can rise above destructive behaviors and triumphantly survive. She believes it is often imperative for another suffering from addictions to speak to someone who has had the same experience. Learning from others who are confronted by the same out-of-control behaviors is one of the keys to finding a new direction. And Amy, welcome to the X Zone.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I love the title of your book, Loved Back to Life.
Thank you. Thank you. That's actually how I felt at the time.
Well, good for you. Good for you. And I can tell by your book, and I can tell by the media that you're getting, that you've touched a lot of hearts in a very special way.
I hope so. I think this being honest and opening up and letting people know that there is hope when you are addicted is a big deal. Because when I was first in getting out of the addiction and in recovery, I didn't even know that the things that are available for help existed. I had no idea, and I want people to know that there is help out there.
Now, you say you have been in a long-term recovery for 20 years. Now, can you explain what that means?
Well, I'm really an alcoholic and an addict, and I have not had a drink or a drug since 1988, like you said.
Good for you.
Long-term recovery for me is being part of a recovery support group, 12-step programs. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them out there, for everything. Actually, they have them for gambling. They have them for overeating, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. They have all kinds of different 12-step programs for people addicted, and I'm in a recovery group like that. And that recovery group is what made me completely change my viewpoint and about myself and about life and everything, and begin and learn actually how to live, because I didn't know how to live without alcohol and drugs.
So you began abusing alcohol and drugs at a very young age, didn't you? And
absolutely.
Didn't your parents catch on?
No, because when I grew up, my family had alcoholism. My father was an alcoholic. My grandparents were alcoholics. My uncle was alcoholic. So being in that environment, you'd think it's the norm. You'd think everybody does that. And that's what I thought. And, because my parents thought that because that's how they were raised also. And as a result, you didn't think anything was strange about it at all. I mean, from a very young age, at like 5, I was allowed to have little shot glasses of beer. And the funniest part, the whole thing is, every night before I went to bed, I was able to, we had a little party. You could have an ice cream or cookie or something. And my favorite was vanilla ice cream with cream de mint poured over the top of it.
Green cream de mint, I bet.
Cream de mint.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We used to go to my uncle's, and that's what he'd give us at dessert.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
and I love that. I'd have that a lot. So, if you have that addicted behavior and it runs in your family, your chances of becoming an addict are much greater than somebody who doesn't have that.
Now, did you think as a teenager that you may have had a problem with alcohol or drugs, or did you think it was the norm?
No, I really thought it was the norm. I really did. People who are addicted to alcohol and drugs, we surround ourselves with other people who do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So it's the norm in all our areas, in our friendships, in our household. We don't want to be around people who don't use and drink because then it's no fun. For us, that's what we think.
What were some of the effects of abusing alcohol and drugs that you first started noticing?
Well, for me, I got very, very thin. My drug of choice was cocaine, and I had a serious problem with eating and lost a whole lot of weight and got very, very ill that way. And it was also, I ended up at the same time when all this cocaine was happening and I was going through my bottom, I also got very sick and got a parasite in my upper intestine.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I know, it was not a good sign. But I used the parasite as my excuse for being sick and didn't want to admit that it was also the cocaine that was making me so ill.
I understand that several of your friends died in drunk driving accidents in a very short period of time. Did you ever stop and think it could happen to you?
It's amazing because, even kids today, we think we're indestructible. When I was a kid, I thought I was indestructible. I did not think that kind of thing would happen to me. It was happening to everyone around me. On my graduation night, 3 of my friends died on my graduation night from high school. And you'd think that it would register. And, it's wild looking back now after, being clean and sober for so long and thinking, how could I ever not have realized, that this exact same thing could happen to me? And you just don't. When you are in the disease and you're in the addiction, you don't think it's going to happen to you. Mm-mm.
So how did you beat it?
How did I beat it?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of a funny story because I was living with a gentleman who sold drugs, so he was a drug dealer, and he came home one day and he looked at me and he said, "We got to get you help." He said, "You're going to die if we don't get you help." And he took me to treatment. So my drug dealer took me to treatment and dropped me off. And you're in trouble when you're behind the doors of treatment and the drug dealer leaves, you know you're in trouble. And that's pretty much how I ended up getting help. And when I was in treatment, they started taking me to the support group meetings and the 12-step programs. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me through and what helped me change. And it was a process. It's not something that happens overnight. I had to change a lot in my life, everything in my life. And that was a process for me.
I have to ask you, what was going through your mind when you have 4 friends die in a drunk driving accidents in such a short period of time?
I was so saddened by it that being an alcoholic, mm-hmm. I wanted to drink more, and that's what I did. I didn't want to feel the pain, and I went ahead and just drank and used drugs more. As a matter of fact, right after my one friend in college died in a drunk driving accident, I was in a horrendous car accident that when I was driving. Mm-hmm. And I ran head-on into a tree going extremely fast. And somehow or another, the kid with me and I woke up on the side of the road, and we were fine. In the car, there was nothing left of the car.
Unreal.
I mean, amazing. It's sad to look back and think that we were actually driving like that. That we were.
How did your alcoholism and drug addiction progress through college? Looking back, was it a blur?
It really, it's funny because one of the effects that the alcoholism and drug addiction did have on me is that I do not have good memory at all. And looking back through college, I remember certain events and everything, but literally, I was drinking constantly. I was a little sister to a fraternity, and back then, fraternities was all about drinking, especially the one I was in. And so once again, I surrounded myself with a bunch of people who drank and used drugs just like I did. So I was very comfortable. But looking back, I can see how quickly it progressed in just a matter of 2 to 3 years. I went from never using cocaine to using cocaine every single day, like within 2 years.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah,
How much was it costing you, and where were you getting the money?
That's a great question. Well, see, I lived with the different drug dealers. I call myself the serial drug dealer lady. I lived with the drug dealers. So I lived here for a couple of years, and then I go on to a different drug dealer and live with him for a couple of years. So I was able to get the drugs for nothing because I was living with the drug dealers. I think that's how a lot of the women end up doing it, even though we were in college and things like that. And it's not like, I was living on the streets or something. Even though I was doing the same pattern as the people on the streets were doing to get their drugs. I was just living with the guys. And I think that's how a lot of women get it. Was
there a specific point you remember looking back on where you knew that you had a serious problem? Like, what was it that rang the bell? I mean, besides the boyfriend driving you to get help, right. there must have been some signs, some bells, some flags going on in you.
Well, the first time that I really realized it was one of my friends from college had moved back to Dallas, where I'm from, and we were going out every single night, and we were partying every single night, and she also had an eating disorder. And she got very, very ill and was put in treatment for her eating disorder and her alcohol and drug usage. But that was the first time that I actually sat there and thought to myself, oh, my God, something's wrong with me. And I felt the feelings inside, I can't even describe it because I was so completely depressed. And I just felt like a huge black hole was inside of me. And I had no self-worth and no self-confidence, and I was miserable. I was completely miserable. And it was about that time when I knew that something had to change. And actually, I was just hoping that I'd go to sleep and not wake up, is really what I was hoping.
Well, I'm glad you went to sleep and you did wake up.
Yeah, I know, me too. Now I am. At the time I wasn't.
How did you get through college?
Being an obsessive-compulsive addict, I studied like you wouldn't believe. I would sit there and I would study with my drugs and my alcohol, and then, my drugs were always uppers. So I was up all night studying, and I'd study, and that's how I got through.
Did you ever think that you would, did you ever think that you were going to be writing a book and helping people?
Oh, God, no. Oh, no. And when, especially first in recovery for the first, several years, it's very, very difficult. At least it was for me. I had to change my beliefs about so many different things. First of all, about myself. And I never imagined that I would ever be as happy and have the kind of life I have today because I had never experienced happiness. I had never truly felt love, happiness, peace. I didn't even know those feelings to know what I was missing.
All right, stand by, my dear friend. You and I have to take a commercial break in the news. Amy CROWELL is our special guest. Her website is www.lovedbacktolife.com. We'll be back on the other side of the news as the X Zone continues right here on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Always wanted to play the guitar? With the Victor Lee Guitar Method, if you've got a song you can hum in the shower, in just one easy lesson, you can start actually to read sheet music and play the guitar. You'll be playing beautifully in no time, and the tunes you write can actually be played on other instruments using the government-endorsed Victor Lee Guitar Translator. Victor Lee's amazing offer is online at www.victorleeguitarmethod.com. Learn how to play beautifully the guitar and read music and translate the music you write to be played on other instruments. Music is the international language, and the copyrighted Victor Lee Guitar Translator instructions are available in most languages spoken around the world. Go now to www.victorleeguitarmethod.com. Open yourself to a wonderful world of music. www.victorleeguitarmethod.com.
Amethyst works with your guides, angels, and spirit animals to assist you in catalyzing your inner healer, clearing your psychic and spiritual debris, integrating your lost soul parts, illuminating your journey, energizing your spirit, opening your psychic senses, exercising your multidimensional gifts, activating your purpose, empowering your soul, validating your experiences, navigating life's transitions, guiding your process, awakening your spiritual essence, balancing your energies, tapping into the creative flow, realizing your dreams, visioning your destiny, dreaming your world into being who you really are. Amethyst is an X-Zone iPod partner and can be visited online at www.answersfromyourangels.com or from your X-Zone iPod by touching the Angels widget on the main screen. Amethyst. www.answersfromyourangels.com.
Hi, this is Ken Elliott. When I'm floating around the universe, I always try to tune in to Rob McConnell.
Hi ho there, Timothy Frog on Sesame Street. When I want to find out what's going on with UFOs or ghosts, I listen to the X-Zone with Rob McConnell.
This is Les Corrigan from Target Internet Development. You're listening to Rob McConnell on the X-Zone Radio Show.
This is John Hogue, Prophecy Scholar, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X-Zone.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Tell me one more time again, just like I didn't hear you, like I don't know what's going through your mind. I do. I played the same game too. I know it's hard to stop, even when you want to. Now the moon lights up your face, I can see you're crying. You never liked me to see you cry. It's true, I've done some crying too. Know the heart.
Amy Crowell is our special guest. Her website is www.lovedbacktolife.com. Amy, what was the process you went through at the beginning of your sobriety?
Well, first of all, when you go into recovery, you have to completely detox, and that was very, it depends because each person's so different, and it was difficult for me because I was so thin and I was so depressed that getting the drugs out of my system just sort of complicated it even more. But once I'm in there and once you start getting detox, you do start feeling physically better, and you're able to eat and those kind of things. And it's sort of wild because the first year I was sober, I actually grew like an inch, 2 inches in height, an inch and a half or so in height. And the doctors, we all laughed about it, but I started drinking at such a young age that I was drinking all the way through my teenage years and my puberty. So it wasn't surprising that my body actually started growing and developing where it never had a chance to before.
So tell me, what had to change within you for you to be alcohol and drug-free for so long?
Everything, literally. I went in, I believe that one of the reasons is that I do stay sober every day is that I do not want to go back to where I came from. I do not want to have those feelings I had. I felt like I was going to explode. I felt like I was just, I felt like I had so much built up inside of me that I was just going to spontaneously combust. And I never, ever want to go through what I went through in rehab. And I hope I never forget those feelings. But, over time, I had to learn to completely change my thoughts. I never had any self-worth. I didn't have any self-confidence. And I had to learn that through my recovery group. I had to learn to rely on higher powers and people and trust people. And I had to learn completely everything, how, like, a regular person learns to live. Because I had never had the basic structure of that.
What kind of changes did you go through physiologically when you were, going from an alcoholic and addicted to cocaine to being a straight person? Was it hard?
It was very hard. It really was. Trying to, the obsessions, for the alcohol and the drugs, that's something that everybody has to deal with when they're first, getting clean and sober. But you learn to put in its place going to meetings and reading the literature and doing community service work. You learn to get out of yourself instead of concentrating on yourself. And once you get out of yourself and start helping and doing other things and filling your life with other things, positive things, then the obsession slowly goes away. At least for me it did.
Now, I understand you're very involved with Inner City at Risk Youth. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, I love it. I taught for 6 years down in Inner City Dallas, actually, and it's an amazing experience. The kids are completely different than how I grew up, and they will experiment with anything, when it comes to drugs, household products. The new drug right now is cheese, and it's very prevalent in Dallas, but it really hasn't hit very much of the rest of the country yet. It will, but what they're doing is they're mixing heroin and Tylenol PM.
Wow.
And yes, and being two depressants, what's happening is they look like they've passed out at a party, but what's happened is their lungs have shut down, and then they just go to sleep and don't wake up.
Haven't there been 2 deaths in Dallas in the last 2 years with cheese?
There's been 2 dozen.
2 dozen? Wow.
2 dozen deaths in the last 2 years with this new drug. One of the problems with it is it's extremely inexpensive. It's like $2 for a little bump, as they call it, one usage, and $10 for a gram. Okay? I mean, that's unheard of. And so it's very cheap. And they're, I hate to say this, but the drug dealers are marketers. Let me tell you, they are flavoring the drug with grape and strawberry and everything. So the younger kids think it's some sort of a candy or something. They have no idea it's heroin. And, so it's a serious situation. The child who died at our school was 14 years old.
God bless them. Mm-hmm. Now, what are the top 10 places teens are hiding their drugs?
It is amazing because the kids helped me out with this one at school, and I had no idea. Well, nowadays with all the electronic devices and everything, okay, they're hiding them inside the computers. They lift up the outside shell, and they're putting them on the inside of the computers and putting the shell back down. I would never have thought of that. We didn't even have computers back when I was using. So,
all right, give all the kids laptops. Amazing. They can't pull that off then if they have a laptop, can they?
Yeah.
There you go.
Most of them don't have laptops, especially where I'm teaching. They're lucky to have a computer at home.
Oh, really?
But anything electronic, I mean, it's pretty amazing on the back of keyboards. The other place that the girls hide them, and this is pretty amazing, in their purse, they will hide them. They'll take a tampon, and they'll take everything out of the tube, and then put the drugs in the tube and put it back in the package in their purse. Amazing, isn't it?
All right, so that's 2. Let's go 8 more.
Okay, we have they hide them in their calculators. That's another place, because what they do is they pop out the batteries, and they put and then they have little, there's little tiny little packages, and they pop out the batteries, and they put them in there. Telephones, the same thing. They take out their cell phones, but and you don't think that little battery in the cell phones can take up a lot of space, but if it's anything that's a powder material, that's a lot. That'll hold a lot back there.
What's the average age of a user in school now?
Well, it does go up as they go start in the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. But it's sad. The statistics are that the majority of the kids have experimented with some illegal drug at some time in high school, which is really hard to believe still.
What turns the child on to drugs? Is it peer pressure?
I think a lot of it is. I think a lot of it is what's at home. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it is peer pressure. For me, it sort of was a natural factor coming from an alcoholic household, being an alcoholic at a young age. My next step was using drugs. I mean, that was just, I hate to say it, but it was a natural progression for what I was in. And I think that people who don't have that at home and don't have that progression, that, yes, it is peer pressure. I think a lot of it is. Like that one child who died who was 14 here in Dallas. It really was his first time he had ever used that kind of drug, that he had ever taken cheese.
What can a parent look for in a child if they suspect the child is taking drugs?
I always say try, no matter how hard it is, sometimes to keep that communication open and try to talk as much as possible to a child, because even if you don't expect them to be using drugs, you can at least know if their behaviors change, if they change friends, if their grades start going down, if they start losing weight, mood swings, dizziness, anything like that. And if you are close enough, you have an open communication with your child, you will begin recognizing that there could be something wrong. So you're able to catch it.
What can the schools do to crack down on drugs?
The schools, the school I'm at, they are actually doing a lot. They have, every year they have Red Ribbon Week in October. All the schools across the country are actually supposed to have it. And they educate the kids during that week about drugs and alcohol. I personally think it should be something that they're discussed more in health class as they get older, so that they understand what happens exactly to their bodies, what can happen when they're using illegal drugs to their brain, all that. I think all that should be discussed in health class a lot more than it is. Psychology. They offer psychology now in high school. It should be talked about there. It actually, they're doing pretty good in Dallas about discussing more and more of, don't drive drunk and explaining about what cheese is. So if somebody does encounter it, they understand not to use it. So they're trying. They're also trying to educate the parents, after schools and things like that. But sadly, a lot of parents don't go to the meeting. They have the attitude that my kid's not doing it. So
the ostrich syndrome.
Yeah. Keep your head in the ground. You don't have to see anything then. That's it.
When a child is on drugs, how hard is it to get them off?
It varies. Each person's an individual, so it completely varies. But, if they are ready to quit using and they realize that they have a problem and they admit it to themselves, then anything's possible. I've seen people get clean and sober at a very young age. I know a girl who got sober at 16 years old, and she's 30 years old now. She's still in recovery support groups and speaks at a lot of different places. So it's possible. You just have to know that, you are the one with the problem. It's not everybody else around you. It's you, and you have to want it to get sober. And unless you have that, and the parent and the kid has that, the parents can't say anything to get them sober.
Do you think the drug laws are strict enough, or should they be stricter?
It's difficult because, they're doing the best they can, but oh my God, they have a lot to do. They're doing the best they can, but, they're pretty strict right now, but it's so much of the drugs are coming in illegally from Mexico and the different countries and everything. I would just wish that they'd be able to stop it more in the big bulks, because it is coming in big bulks, and it's just not happening right now. Something's missing, and of course I don't have the answer for that.
I was watching a news item on CNN this morning where just on the other side of the Mexican border, they are finding marijuana grows in public parks, in public areas. And the raid that they did, that was on TV, was they estimated $40 million.
Oh yeah. It doesn't surprise me. They just did that here in Dallas, down around the area where I teach. Actually, they found this huge field down there, out in the middle of nowhere, that was completely, all pot plants that were being cultivated, and it was the same situation, millions of dollars. But it was out in the middle of nowhere, and somebody, narked them out, and they got caught. Someone got mad and told on them. Yeah, it's amazing.
There's always been the discussion about whether or not they should legalize marijuana. What's your stance on that?
It's a rough one, because being an addict, I believe marijuana is a drug that is depressing and does cause harm, and people are unmotivated when they smoke it on a regular basis, and that just becomes part of their life. So, I do think it should be illegal, but at the same time, so many people are using it that maybe it should be taxed. I see both sides. It's a difficult choice there.
Now, I understand that teens are getting a buzz from everyday household products these days.
Yes, this is scary, because you talk about something parents just would never expect. Okay, they're getting high off just things laying around the house, like Pledge furniture polish.
You can get high off Pledge?
Yes, anything like that's a spray deodorant. They actually inhale the fumes by putting the bag over their head and putting it in there, and then the fumes, the toxic fumes, they're getting high from. It's amazing.
No wonder my wife likes dusting so much.
Well, if you find a bunch of Pledge laying around in a kid's room, I doubt if they're cleaning, okay? That might be a hint there.
What else can parents look for as far as household solvents that are being used?
One of the worst things right now that is just catching on, as a matter of fact, the kids at school had been talking about this, the dust-off. I don't know if you're familiar with dust-off, but they come in cans, and then you attach a little straw, and it's for your computers. It, dusts off your computers. Yeah. It sprays a little air, dusts off your computers. Well, that has, a Freon in it, all right? And it's some sort of a, coolant. And the kids think it's just compressed air. So they're inhaling it through the straw, and it is freezing their lungs, and they're dying instantly from it. I mean, they're found with the straws in their mouth and their eyes open. It's the saddest thing. And they, as I said, they think it's compressed air and that it's not a problem. And I went to the store the other day and was looking for a can and found that they had the kids had opened all the cans that were out.
All right, stand by.
There were several of them.
Okay, stand by. We've got to take our final break. We'll be back on the other side as the X Zone continues right here on the Talkstar Radio Network with our very special guest, Amy Crowell.
About past lives or even life between lives, and you think the whole idea is a little strange, you're not alone. Dr. Georgina Cannon, author of the books Return, Past Life Regression, and You, and her latest book, Discovering the Interlife, writes her books to remove the woo-woo from these regression protocols and to show the therapeutic benefit and opportunities that happen with these journeys. Discovering the Interlife is the one book you'll need as you continue on your life journey. As Shirley MacLaine said about the book,
this is a very, very powerful work.
So be kind to yourself and find out more about Discovering the Interlife at www.lifebetweenlivescanada.com. That's www.lifebetweenlivescanada.com. You'll be glad you did.
To contact Dr. Georgina Cannon at the Ontario Hypnosis Centre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, visit www.ontariohypnosiscentre.com.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa!
The cat is finally out of the bag. Secrets of Cat Attitude revealed. This is the No Copycat book that gives you the X Factor in personable insight and experience to understanding cat behavior and solving problems from the cat's point of view. Learn the Secrets of Cat Attitude revealed by Carolyn Bartz that will take the relationship with your cat up a notch and to the next level. Discover why cat owners live longer, healthier lives. Medical facts revealed and why your cat can't help it. Digital photos to guide you in cat care. Safety tips, historical and myth gems, and a fun, enlightening quiz. The perfect gift for smart cat owners and cat lovers. If you love your cat, take the journey now. Don't wait.
To order your copy of Secrets of Cat Attitude Revealed, visit www.secretsofcatattituderevealed.com. Secrets of Cat Attitude Revealed, the perfect gift for smart cat owners and cat lovers.
Amy Crowell is our special guest. Her website is www.lovedbacktolife. That's www.lovedbacktolife.com. First of all, Amy, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an enlightening hour.
It's been great. Thank you.
And you've got to tell me about your motorcycle therapy.
Well, I started riding motorcycles when I first got sober. So I started riding when I was about 25, and I'm 45 now. And I ride all the time. I have a hot pink motorcycle, and it's got pink LED lights, so it glows hot pink at night. And I ride all the time with a group of sober people.
What kind of bike do you have?
It's a Honda that's been customized.
Wow, good for you. Yeah. Now, what are some of the program support groups and information that parents and kids who want to kick the habit can actually go to?
The best places to do is you can go on the Internet or you can look in your Yellow Pages, and you can look for groups that anything 12-step related is what I recommend. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. Now, if you have a drug problem, you can still go to AA. A lot of people don't realize that, okay? It's for both. It's for drugs and drug addicts and alcoholics. Then anything, if somebody has an overeating problem, they have Overeaters Anonymous, they have Gamblers Anonymous, they have Nicotine Anonymous. Anything to do with 12-step programs is what I highly recommend.
Why is the 12-step program so successful?
You know, I think it's because there's people there have already experienced what the person is going through when they're getting sober. And even though I believe in therapists and I believe in psychiatrists, I think they're very, very important, especially for a lot of alcoholics, because so many of us suffer from other things such as me, is depression. And I was also a rager. I had a very serious problem with anger. So I needed extra help. But the programs, when you're around people who are going through the same thing and can guide you in the right direction, it's a completely different feeling. It makes you learn through them. And I think it's definitely necessary.
Their experience is your best teacher.
Absolutely. No question.
Amy, what other projects are you working on?
Well, right now I'm going to be working for the Association of Persons Affected by Addictions here in Dallas. And I'm really excited because I'm going to start working for them in the next month or so. And we help a lot of the people who are in the transitional stage. We work with a lot of the homeless people, getting them into housing, recoveries. We have GED programs, educating the community on alcoholism, drug abuse. So I'm really excited about that.
Amy, I want to thank you very much for joining us. And if there's anything we could ever do here for you at the X Zone to help you with the great work that you do, don't hesitate to contact us.
Oh, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You take care of yourself now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Amy Crowell, www.lovedbacktolife.com. If you know somebody who is an addict and they need help, or if you are a parent and you suspect that your child is abusing drugs, contact your doctor, contact your school, contact any of the great organizations on the internet. Help is available. All you have to do is say, I need help. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, Miss Bonnie is going to be joining us. She's going to tell us about the strange yet wondrous events that are, according to her, going to happen on Friday, 8808, August the 8th, 2008. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on Talkstar.
When I'm alone with you.